Okay, this says solve the equation 2z squared plus 3z, 2z squared plus 3 equals 8z. So again, we want to make sure that we have our equation written in standard form. This is not standard form. Standard form would be all non-zero terms to one side and then equal to 0. So we have to move this 8z, and I like to put that in the middle. So 2z squared minus 8z plus 3, and then equals 0. Now, you should always see if you can actually factor this, and one way to do this is to multiply the first times the last. Alright, so the leading coefficient, 2, times the constant, 3, 6. And then see if you can find two numbers whose product is 6, and for this case we need the middle coefficient, the negative 8, and whose sum is negative 8. Well, that means both have to be negative, and there aren't too many combinations. Negative 1, negative 6, negative 2, negative 3. Negative 1, negative 6 is negative 7 when you add them. Negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. So, not factorable. Alright, then after you determine that, there's two methods. One is completing the square, and the other is using the quadratic formula. So this video is going to show you how to use the quadratic formula. So, quadratic formula, instead of x equals, it's actually z equals. And if you remember, because it's whatever the variable is, it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, make sure you memorize that. So we just want to find out what a, b, and c are. And it goes back to this statement I made before, talking about standard form. Standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So there's your a, there's your b, and there's your c. So in our problem, a is 2, b is negative 8, and c is 3. Okay, so you have to have your quadratic equation in standard form in order to use the quadratic formula. So now we're going to write negative b. Now b is negative 8, so it's going to be negative of negative 8, and then plus or minus square root b squared. So we're going to put that negative 8 in parentheses. So we're going to square negative 8. It's going to make a positive. Minus 4ac, so times 2 times 3, all under that radical symbol, all over 2a, so 2 times 2. So we've substituted those values into the quadratic formula. So now the negative of negative 8 is positive 8, and then plus or minus. Negative 8 squared is 64, and it's going to be a minus because it's a negative times a positive times a positive. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So we get a 24 here, all over 4. So 8 plus or minus 64 minus 24, that's 40, all over 4. Okay, this is an answer. This can be typed in the calculator, and you can get the approximate answers here. However, this is not simplified radical form. See that square root of 40? Just the square root of 40 can be simplified. One way to do this is we can do a factor tree. You want to find the greatest perfect square factor. So 40 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Well, a perfect square is formed by multiplying a number by itself. So this 2 times 2 right here, that creates a perfect square. 4. 40 is 4 times 10. Now 10 does not have any factors that are a perfect square. 2 times 5. There's no doubles. So I'm going to simplify the radical within the expression up here. So first thing you do, and make sure you review this if you have trouble with it, is you take this radical and you break it apart into a product. So 40, 4 times 10. Okay, now you split the square root of 4 times 10 to the square root of 4 times the square root of a 10. That's okay to do. Now, the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, a little better, but not yet there. Notice the numerator, 8 and 2 have a common factor. And, important, they have a common factor with the denominator. So, we're going to factor out the greatest common factor of that numerator, which is 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now 2 radical 10 divided by 2 off on the side. 2 radical 10 divided by 2 is just radical 10, or 1 times radical 10. But we're just going to write radical 10. And then over 4. Okay, now stop and think. If you multiply the 2 times the 4, you get the 8. The 2 times the radical 10, you get the 2 radical 10. So you get 8 plus or minus 2 radical 10. This is equal. Now we can cancel out common factors. And then 4 plus or minus radical 10 over 2. Do not start canceling that 4 with that 2 when you don't do anything with a number in front of the radical. So do not. This does not simplify anymore. Many people make that mistake. So our solution set is 4 plus radical 10 over 2, 4 minus radical 10 over 2. And that is exact and simplified radical form.